Let's try that one more time. Hi, my name is Mrs. Johnson, and you are at the Artsy Fartsy Club. I am so happy you are here with me today, and apparently I'm having technical issues. It's called mommy brain, but we're okay. Other than that, I am an educator. I have a master's degree in art education, and I love doing these art projects for students to follow along at home. And also, I do them in my in-home studio that I teach art camps out of. And I also do this for teachers and other art educators so they can have creative ideas to do in their classrooms. So if that's any of you, please do all those YouTube-y things, like and subscribe. I really appreciate it, and it helps out the channel. And of course, if you share this out to another art educator, that would be amazing to spread the word. I really appreciate it. And let's see, I want to make sure that I refresh so I can see if there's any communications this way. And then we're going to do the clickety click, and you're going to be able to see the art down here below. I want to make sure that I refresh so I can see if there's any. And my mute wasn't on. Oh my goodness. It is one of those days. I've had the most bizarre week this week. I think I'm trying to do too many things at one time. And this is what we get. This is what we get when I try to do too many things at one time. So let's go ahead and click out of just me and get down to the art. And so today's project is really easy and accessible. You could do this all the way down to the lower elementary level, and just with things that you probably already have. So if you are a gen ed teacher, you probably have cardstock. If you are an art teacher, I would use a heavy 90-pound drawing paper. And this is just a 9x12. And I am folding it in half like a book. So for the students at home, you want to make sure that you've got your edges lined up nice and crisp at the corners. Hold this side and then move your finger over to that fold line. And then go up and down that fold line to make a nice crisp crease. And if I did it correctly, I have a book or a card. And we're actually going to orient our card in landscape, which is the long way horizontal, the long way left to right. And I'm actually going to set that aside. I don't need it right now, but I'm all set up and ready to go. Then I'm going to hand my students 3x3 squares, and each one's going to have 3x3 squares. Now, if you have the classic paint set, that works just fine. If you have one of these cool washable Crayola sets, it includes classic colors, pastels, and then metallics. And I really like the metallics, especially at the holidays. It jazzes things up, and that's fun. Other things that you need are watercolor brushes, a bowl of water, handy dandy scissors, and a stick glue. I like stick glue better for this project because it dries more quickly. And if you're trying to do, this during like a holiday party or something, you want to crank it out. And last but not least, paper towel, some salt, and then optional, you can either use the metallic paints or you could use metallic paint pens. These are Mondo Llama, which I think I got these at Target. Or you can use the metallic Sharpie. There's a nice crisp silver Sharpie. I really like actually the silver Sharpie. Primo, great quality. Okay. And actually, I think I like the Sharpie better than I like the paint markers. I ended up having problems with paint markers. The kids, they stay wet too long. And the kids, if they rub too hard, it does weird things with the tips of the paint pens. So you make your choice. Gel pens would work for this. There's options. Okay. So we're going to do some painting techniques. And if you have a regular classic set, then you have a regular brush like this, or if you are lucky to have various sizes of watercolor brushes, that's awesome. A watercolor brush could be a round brush that is more pointed or a flat brush that is straight across. But the key thing about watercolor brushes is the bristles. This is what makes it a watercolor brush. It has these soft bristles that actually hold more water. And when I tell my kids, okay, we're going to do watercolor today, it's a compound word. What's the most important part of that compound word? You got two choices. Is it the water or the color? And they catch on and they're water. Water is the most important part of watercolors. It's all about the water and our control of the water. The more water, the lighter your paint will be, and it's going to flow, and we can do some cool wet on wet techniques. And the drier your brush is, the less water you have, you can do some dry brush techniques. So we can do some really cool things with this. So I'm going to focus on three main colors. I'm going to do red, green, and a blue. Okay. And I hadn't really thought ahead of time which technique I'm doing with which color. We're just gonna do it. Here we go. I think I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do my red first. Okay. So I'm gonna do a wet on wet with this. So I'm getting my paper wet and I'm going to drop some water in my red, and might as well do it while my water is clean. My green and my blue. Okay. And I'm going to paint. And wherever I put more paint, that red will be darker. And you can see it's kind of bleeding and doing these cool things. You know what I forgot to grab today is my hair dryer, which actually would be really important for this project. I wasn't planning on doing a live today. I was going to do a pre-recorded. Has anybody else already felt like the holiday season's upon us and we're running around like crazy people? That's how I feel. Please tell me I'm not the only one. Okay. Now I'm coming in with my metallic, and sadly, I just don't think that the camera is going to do it justice. You're not going to see the metallics. Now, I could come in with another close color, like maybe purple, and do some cool things with that. But I'm just going to go ahead and put a little bit more of my red on to make it a little bit darker. Okay. First technique. I'm going to take away some of my paint. So I'm going to take my paper towel, crumple it up, and let's see. Can I move you guys a little bit so that you can see me better? There we go. So when I lean in, you can see me. Okay. So I've got a crumply paper towel. It is kind of a crunchy design on the front. Okay. You don't want to just fold it over and have it smooth. That's not the point. And then I'm going to dab it. Dab, dab, dab. And it should give us a little bit more of a blotched paint effect. And if I go, oh, I don't like that, I don't really see the crunch, I can put my paint on there heavier and come back again and see what I get. Okay. So we can, you can kind of see those dabby dab dabs. I'm going to do another one over here. I think it was a little too watery at first to show my cool dabs. Okay. So that creates kind of a almost like a tie-dye effect, sort of, where it's various tones. All right, let's move on. One of my favorite things to do with blue is the salt technique, because I can do this for like winter pictures. And that when I paint, I tell my students that it's kind of like a ballerina, where she is on her tippy toes. We don't want to smash our brush down. If we smash our brush down, two major things happen. Okay, you're going to, well, actually, I think it's three. So if you smash it down all the way down to the metal, thing one that happens is you give Mr. Brush a bad hair day, and he ends up permanently looking like this, and that's no fun. He doesn't like that. It makes him sad. Okay. Two, your bristles can fall out. That's also very not cool. And number three, you can actually scratch your paper or rip a hole in your paper, and that's a total bummer. Okay, so I just have regular salt. I think this actually might be kosher because it looks a little bit thicker. And we drippity droppity on it, our art. Hopefully my art didn't dry while I was talking to you. I don't think so. I think we're okay. Okay, and we get it all around. And then we let that dry. All right. And I'm a miser, so I'm going to save the rest of my salt. And then throw it over my shoulder for good luck. All right. Don't do that. Don't do that at home, guys. I don't think Mom would like that one. Okay. So that's drying. Now I'm going to do another one with the green. And I'm just going to paint a nice light coat. I don't want it to be too dark, just a nice watery light coat. And I want it to dry a little bit. So I'm going to let it sit there for a second while we talk. And I'm going to put this brush away so it's not sitting in my water too long. So I wash out my brush, and I'm going to squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Squeeze out any color that's left. And then I lay it out to dry. Ta-da. Okay, I'm going to dry the brush I was just using, and I'm going to fan it. Okay, if you have a fan brush in your art program already, fantastic. Use that. But this is, I show my kids, we're going to make a fan brush. Now, if I let go, it will go back on the most part. So I've got to pinch it. And I'm going to dab those ends into the paint. I wonder if, can you see it? Do I need an angle? Can you go over the white area? There you go, a little bit. You see that green on the ends? It's just on the ends. All right. I'm going to come back to this green one here, and I'm going to do some dry brush. So I'm going to hold my paper just on the edge. If you take off a little bit of paint on your finger, it's going to be okay. We don't need all of the edges of our, even especially the corner. Don't need the corners. So I'm going to dry brush. Come on, paint, maybe a little bit more paint there. I'm going to dry brush across my first color. I could even use a different color. I could do like blue or something to make it a little more interesting to look at. Fan, baby, fan. There we go. And we're going to paint that. Kind of adds like a texture. This is something that you could do if you were drawing or painting, I should say, the bark of a tree. A nice little dry brush, okay? But then you start to get little lines through your original painting. So if I did it with the blue, it would really, really show up. But I want each of these papers to be its own thing and unique. Wash this off. All right. Now here's the cool part. Teaching the kids that they can cut a circle out of a square. It's actually one of my favorite things to teach because they're like, they're amazed. They're like in awe and wonder. If I wish I did actually know this morning that I was going to do this lesson. So I would let these dry and then cut them later with them. My paper is still a little damp, but this one's the first one we started, so it's the driest. So wish me luck. I think we'll be okay. All right, so scissors. When I talk about scissors with the kids, I tell them the thumb goes in the little hole, my fingers go in the big hole. My thumb is always pointed up at the ceiling. To cut a circle from a square, we are going to cut starting at the halfway on the side. So it's a square. What do we know about squares is that each leg of the square, each side of the square is equal. They're all the same size. So it's very important that you cut them exactly a 3x3 because they're going to start here at this center part and they're aiming for the center part of the other side. And if they're not exactly square, if it's a rectangle, they're not going to be able to be successful. So I have my thumb pointed up at the ceiling. I'm aiming for that other side. My left hand is going to do all the turning. It's going to do all the work. So little alligator chomps. I put that paper all the way back into the alligator's mouth. I'm keeping my eye on the goal, this other side, and I'm cutting. Okay, I'm halfway there. I need to really make sure I'm turning to get to that point. Bam. I'm going to keep going. From that point, turn. Could you do tracers? Sure. But the kids are going to learn something cool today about space, about the space of a circle or a square. And they're going to gain confidence through success because they're going to be able to cut circles now without having to use a tracer. But if you are a gen ed teacher and you're just like, I don't have time for that, then use a tracer. Okay. No, I had paint on my hand and I got it on my poor thing. Okay. So then if you see that there's anything odd, I was talking and I have an odd side here. I'm like, oh, it's a little flat. I can always come in and, curve that more. Okay. So I'm going to do this one next because we're going to let that salt have all the time it can have before I try to blow it off. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing. Thumb is in the little hole. My fingers are in the big hole. My thumb is always pointed at the ceiling. And I'm just going to cut. I'm going to go a little bit faster this time. I tend to do better if I just go for it. And I should have washed my hand. I'm getting my art dirty. This is Johnson. If it was dry and my hand was clean, you would not have this problem. But where does this me gonna work for you guys? It's live. Okay. Go. Turn. All right. So there's my little thumb there. Ignore the thumb. All right. So next step. If this was dry, you'd be able to blow off this salt and it would leave that really cool mark. I'm going to go ahead and just cut. But my salt area, my paint is not all the way dry. So if I blow it or brush it now, it's just going to smear. Boom, boom. And okay. Brush that aside. 3 circles. Ignore my dirty marks. You're going to orient your card that you made. Remember, this was a 9x12. We folded it in half like a book. That's the first thing I had the kids do. They're going to glue it onto this in any way that they want. They can do it red, green, blue, blue, green, red. I don't care. Okay, they've got their 3 circles. I like using the stick glue. It dries fast. It doesn't cause ripples in your paper. A lot less mess. All that salt is crunching. Crunch, crunch, crunch. And it wasn't all the way dry, so now I've got a little smearing, but we're going to... Oh, I'm dirty. I'm dirty. My hands are dirty. It's wet. I'm rushing so you guys can see it. If I was smart, I would have done my pre-examples. Okay. And all right, last one. Now, what do you do from here? Okay, remember, I really recommend silver Sharpie. It's actually my favorite, but in this case, I have 2 paint pens. Okay, you can use gold, silver, whatever metallic floats your boat. So paint pens, shake, and we dab to get them started. Then I do kind of a diagonal line, straight across, horizontal, a little bit of a scalloped edge. They can color that in. Okay, same thing on all of them. You could let them go, oh, you can do some silver, some gold, or just offer them one marker, whatever works for you. But it's super easy. All right. Now, last but not least, have them make a little hook. Now, what I would do, they can write Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas. Oh my goodness, my hands are so dirty. No. Okay. Whatever. I love you. Whatever. Happy New Year. It doesn't matter. You tell them to draw whatever you want them to do. What might be cool is if you are in, what is it, 2nd, 3rd grade that they learn cursive, maybe they have to write in cursive. Ooh. Okay. Because I like to fill my space. Okay, or maybe they print it. Maybe they don't write anything. You do you, boo. And then inside, they can write a Christmas letter to their family. So maybe they write it to their mom and dad. Maybe they're writing it to Santa Claus. Maybe they're writing it to grandma that lives far away. And this is going to bring her some real Christmas cheer as she puts this on the mantle, because a handmade card from your grandchild is way better than any store-bought nonsense. So you can make it into an actual formal writing project. If you're doing a party, you're just letting them, run loose and free and getting in another fun project to do. But so do let these papers dry before you go cutting and gluing them down, because this is what happens. This is what happens. And then it got on my white paper. But you get the idea. And the idea is solid, I think. Okay. And I think it beats the other, the traditional where they loop-de-loop and then they just press their fingers. That's cute too. And that's great for gen ed. But here they're actually learning some painting techniques. So art teachers can totally do this. And it's still a nice, great cross-curricular activity. So I hope that you found this fun. Please do like and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. And if it's your first time here at the Artsy Fartsy Club, you are officially an Artsy Fartsy Club member. Yay! A round of applause for you. And if no one's told you yet today, boom. I love you. Thank you for being here. And until we meet again, I hope that you are absolutely art-tastic. Have a great rest of your week. Oh, don't forget to catch me live on Saturdays. My usual lives, always on Saturday at 11 o'clock, and I'm always on time. So give me a couple minutes sometimes, but I'll see you there, 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturdays. Have a great week. Be art-tastic.